right, welcome back to the IMNerdpodcast, guys. I'm your host Freeway, and I'm here with my birthday boy co-host Kenny. It was recently this guy's birthday. You know, he tried to keep it low key, but
that's true.
But we found out. We found out, and so everyone, please take a second to wish Kenny E. Delgado a nice happy birthday. He is a year older. He's looking a young 25. So 25 forever, King.
You know, I do what I got to do. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was my birthday.
Yep.
I didn't really do much. I went to work on my birthday, and my mom and my dad and my stepmom and some of my brothers came down to the job to surprise me. They ate there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And hold up, you guys might hear a zipper. That's not my pants, I promise. It's my jacket.
It's his pants.
I mean, sometimes. But nah, yeah. So I literally just worked on my birthday, and then I was planning on going to the Hibachi Grill on Sunday after my birthday, but those plans fell through because certain things just weren't able to work. So I didn't really do much else. I just kind of hung out. I went to work, and yeah.
Sunday was also, we live in the Philadelphia area. I live directly in Philadelphia. You live in the surrounding area. But as everyone listening to this probably knows, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. So shout out to the Eagles. And if you also know anything about Philadelphia, you know that Philadelphian sports fans are absolutely fucking nuts. So Sunday was a crazy day here. Where I live at, I live in the heart of South Philly. And that is a very Italian area. It's definitely heavy on the sports. Everyone in this area loves the Phillies. They love the Eagles. They love everything Philly here. Like, this is where the cheesesteaks are primarily known for and everything. Like, this is that area. I'm right there. And it gets really loud. I could actually tell that Philadelphia was winning the game simply because of how loud it was outside of my apartment. Like, I would hear screaming, and I knew. So the game literally started right at 3:00, and by 3:07, I want to say something around there, I heard screaming, and I knew that they scored already. I was like, "Holy shit, we're already off to a crazy start."
They've been on fire. The game before the last one, that same thing happened in the first couple minutes. I think they got like a turnover and a touchdown.
Yeah,
and then that game ended like 38-7.
Yeah.
And then this game, I wasn't able to watch it just because I was doing other shit. But I heard fireworks start to go off, and I was like, "Oh, the Eagles won!"
Yeah.
Like, people started setting off fireworks. I was like, "Oh, okay, the Eagles."
If they did not win, it would have just been people setting fires. So that's kind of how, when you live in Philly, you get to know the difference. If you hear what sounds like gunshots or actual gunshots, it's probably a good thing if there's a sporting event. If it's not a sporting event happening, you probably want to run for your fucking life. But that's a very Philly, culture thing. And again, we have some of the craziest fans here. People lose their minds. I actually went out after the game to go to a Chinese restaurant. I want to say I think it was a Chinese restaurant, but it was in Jersey. We drove over the bridge. I live really close to the Jersey Bridge in the Jersey Turnpike. And it was like me, Silverman, and a couple other friends. We wanted to try this place that he saw on TikTok. So this has been the new thing that's been going on with us. And real quick, this episode in general is just going to be kind of a general rant. We're just going to be talking about any old thing because it's been a while since we did one of these episodes. And a lot of people love these kind of freeform episodes where we just kind of freestyle and talk.
I love them.
I love them too. They're actually very easy because it's just me talking to one of my best friends and like catching up and stuff like that. But anyway, so Silverman's thing is TikTok. He loves TikTok despite the fact that
Silverman needs to stop. All right, he needs to stop. That he is too damn old and too damn big to be using TikTok.
That is a spoiler alert because I agree with you on that. Because TikTok has definitely, he likes everything he sees on there, especially when it comes to obviously the food stuff. And I like food too. Like, I love it. In fact, I always thought it was strange because Silverman and we've traveled together for a decade, right? Like, we literally went to every event together for a very long time. He's been around me for a very long time because we live in the same city. We're both from South Philly, actually, which is actually interesting. I'm from the hood. He's from a gated community, but we're both from South Philly. So you walk too far, you'll end up in his place. But yeah, so we're both from the same place. We've always been around each other, especially as competitive YuGiOh players and stuff. And we eat the same thing. Like, when we go out, it's so interesting to me how everything that he orders, we both eat. And all the dessert stuff, we both eat and everything. And I'm just like, it has an effect on you that it does not have on me. And we talk about that all the time. He's like, yeah, well, I don't stop. You eventually stop. I'm like, I guess. But anyway, back to the point. He saw this restaurant on TikTok, and they're known for dumplings. And apparently the one in New York has a Michelin star. Now, I am not going to butcher the name of this restaurant. I do not know how to pronounce it. I might post, I took a quick little boomerang / video, just panning the restaurant real quick, that I might post on Patreon or something like that. But other than that, I don't really want to even try to say the name, because the name was fully Chinese. Like, it was not at all something that I can say, and I don't feel confident in saying, but they were known for their dumplings. And this one was in Jersey, so it was a branch of the Michelin star one in New York. Apparently it's supposed to be all the same stuff though. So for all intents and purposes, this is a restaurant that either has a Michelin star or once had a Michelin star. And we went in with really high expectations because the TikTok videos looked insane. Everyone on TikTok who made videos of it and stuff like that was saying, "Oh, this place is awesome. I go here all the time." Then the Google reviews were really good too. I think they had a 4.7 on Google out of 5, which is really
this one and bad. This just sounds like set up for bad.
Well, okay, here's the thing. So here's where TikTok can be pretty bad. So TikTok made this place sound like it was going to be the second coming, like it was going to be the first time ever, And when we got our food, we were eating it, and Sylvan and I, we're very blunt. We're very like, we don't sugarcoat things very well. I think that might be the Philly in us, but after a while of eating our first couple courses, we were kind of like, this is just regular. Like, it wasn't bad, but it was
Chinese food.
Exactly. It was the dumplings. The crab meat one was actually kind of gross for me and him, but that could be an acquired taste type of thing. I actually like crab a lot. I like lobster and shrimp and scallops, but the crab meat dumpling was actually kind of gross. The pork and the beef dumplings were good. And then the chicken dumpling was meh. And there was nothing that blew us away. And that's kind of the issue that I guess both of us had with it, is that we were expecting this absurd quality, this absurd flavor. And it just was like, okay, this is fine, I guess. But neither one of us want to go back. And that was one of the things that we kept saying, is that I won't really come here. We made a trip out to Jersey. Granted, it wasn't far. The place is actually, not even kidding, once he picked me up from my apartment, I think we were there in like 15 minutes. So it's very close to where I live, because again, I live very close to the Jersey Turnpike. And so once he got me, we were over the bridge, and then we were basically there. But it wasn't anything spectacular. And TikTok just has this effect. TikTok is the best marketing tool right now, because it's the hive mind going on where people see something and they want to try it out. And I think that people are honestly afraid to just shit on things or to say that things are average. So when people make a video for their own content, they always want to make it sound better than it is, because for content purposes, for your own personal page, you want to make it look like everything that you do is really fun and amazing. That's how people are. Basically, Instagram and TikTok are your highlight reels.
You got to tell me, I'm like, this shit was trash.
Yeah.
But let me say this. All right, deep breath. Why are we taking food recommendations from 12-year-old white girls? Like, I don't.
What is
happening? That is like, that's what TikTok is. Like, I don't understand.
You're not wrong.
Why is that? Would you ever listen to a 12-year-old white girl's advice on anything? Right? No, of course not.
The answer is a hard no. And I'm glad that you said it, not me, because it is a lot of that. Like, people who don't know what good food really is anyway, right? Like, people who aren't used to maybe seasoned food or just food from other cultures that's really high level. But we kept comparing it to this place in Philly called Chubby Cattle. And it might be a chain that's in other places as well. Chubby Cattle is a hot pot. It's a hot pot restaurant. And it is literally so fucking top tier. If you come to Philly, so I know that there's a YCS in Philly in May, which just got announced this week. So shout out to Konami, I guess, for randomly announcing a YCS in Philly in May. Interestingly enough, I will not be here for it. I will be in Japan, but that is a rant for a later point in this episode, probably. Anyway, if you come to Philly, though, for the YCS, I highly recommend. Now, there's going to be thousands of you here for the YCS, so you're going to have to figure it out. But the restaurant's pretty small, and they don't take reservations, but it is one of the best restaurants in the entire city. Me and Silverman have Steak 48 is number 1 and Chubby Kettle's number 2. And it's not close. And then I would say for me, because Silverman doesn't really go here often, But Green Eggs for me would be like my number 3 favorite restaurant in the city. And if you see my Facebook posts or even sometimes my Instagram posts, I post Green Eggs often because I like it there. It's a brunch spot. They have really crazy concoctions, all kinds of like like this week's special is tiramisu French toast. And they have all this stuff that's a staple, so it's there every time you go, like chicken and waffles, short rib Benedict, which is insane. They have this thing called the kitchen sink, which is literally they bring out a skillet that is actually, I guess, still cooking when they bring it to you, but it's like shrimp and grits and all these other like spices and stuff in it. It's all of their food is amazing. It's really well seasoned. It's really delectable, and I highly recommend you go there. I highly recommend you go to Chubby Kettle if you can, and also Steak 48 if you're balling, because Steak 48 is very expensive. We just went on Friday before the Eagles game, so that like Friday that just passed, and we I think it was 6 of us. We spent about $270 a person, so it's pretty expensive. But if you saw any of the pictures I posted on Instagram, we literally filled the table up with food. I mean, every single, because what the waiters always do is when we start ordering our sides, they're like, oh, our side dishes are made for like, family style, 2 to 3 people, sometimes 4, depending on how much you want. And immediately I put my hand out like Chadwick Boseman and, Black Panther and said, we do not do that here. And she was like, oh, okay. I was like, so we'll all take a mac and cheese. We will all take, and so we all ordered our own separate sides. And whatever we don't eat, we just take it home, which, funnily enough, I love. The next day or maybe 2 days after reheating my like steakhouse food, it's so good if you put it in a toaster oven. I don't use a microwave for really anything, but if you toast oven your steak and your mac and cheese and your, candy yams or sweet potato or whatever you got, you toast oven that shit, it tastes so good still. So that's kind of our thing.
The toaster oven's top tier. I just want to say that, like, I feel like I don't like listening to Fraser. I don't like listening to how much money he spends. You know what I mean? Like, it's like not $248 a person.
70,
like,
but yes.
Jesus Christ.
$270 a person. Yeah, it's.
If I was there, bro, there would have been a problem with my checking and my savings.
Oh
like, it would have been. I would have been like, I'm like, wait a second. Hold on.
Oh my God. I'm not trying to hear this. But yeah, it is expensive for a place.
Matter of fact, I would have showed up. This is what I would have did. I would have showed up. I would have smuggled in some Chick-fil-A. And then I would have took it out.
Honestly,
that would have been good.
You could have eaten all the shit that we didn't eat, because we didn't eat so much of it. Now, granted, I think everyone did get all of their food boxed. But if someone at the table was like, yo, I'm going to eat that, none of us would be opposed to it. Be like, sure, like, fuck it up while it's fresh. Like, you could have.
That's what I used to do in high school. Like, in high school, I noticed a lot of people didn't, eat all the food.
Yeah.
And so I just wouldn't order food, and I would just eat. I would just eat what everybody else didn't eat. It was a good time.
Kenny lived such a ridiculous life. Like, you would think that this kid grew up in some fucking like a shelter or something. He's like, oh, I ate after everyone else ate. Like, get the hell out of here.
That's what I did, and I ate quick too. I ate quick. Cause look, I remember, I think my dad gave me $20 for the week for food. Right, so it's $20 for the week.
God. Now, granted, we are older guys, so when he says $20 a week, the times were different. Things did not cost like now. $20 can't get you a dozen eggs, but $20 back when we were growing up. When we were growing up, we sound old as shit. What I'm about to say, because my grandma used to say stuff like this. But $20 could literally get you so much shit in the '90s when we were growing up. Like, no lie, right? Like, it could get you so much.
Yeah, it was the shit. I mean, so $20 for lunch for the week. But what I would do is I would just save the $20 and then I would just eat other people's leftovers. That way I would just save the money and then I'd be able to buy myself a video game.
Yeah, Kenny is very resourceful in that way. I am similar. I would get lunch money. I would get money for miscellaneous things, but I rarely spent it on what it was given to me for. That's just kind of, first I would ask for the money for that thing now. And then when I get it, I'm like, well, now I don't want to spend it because it's mine. Like when it was my parents' money, right? Like when it was their money, I was okay. If it's like, Mom, I need money for this, or Dad, I need money for this, I fully was prepared to spend their money. The second they gave it to me and it became my money, I was like, well, now I don't want to spend it. Like now I don't think I want that anymore. So I have a really weird relationship with spending my own money. It's a whole rant. But
me too.
Clearly. But yeah, so that was the weekend. The weekend was fun though. I really enjoyed just going out to eat with my friends Friday and Sunday, even though the restaurant we went to, the TikTok restaurant, it wasn't the craziest thing by any means. Honestly, it was very mid. And like we said, we probably wouldn't go back, but I still enjoyed the experience of just like trying new things, eating with my friends. And then we got ice cream afterwards, which makes everything better. So that was kind of that. I want to say this now. For all you fucking snowflakes who were complaining online about episode 3 of The Last of Us, you can go to hell. Literally, I've seen so many people, and we're gonna do an actual mid-season review of The Last of Us. So after episode 5, you can expect a podcast coming out the very like next week or like that week or whatever, for The Last of Us once we get past episode 5, which is the mid-season area. And I will rehash this, but I just want to get this out here right now and read you fuckers to filth. Because I'm so tired of seeing people talk about, oh, there's like this gay agenda, and oh, this wasn't an original game, even though it actually was. Like, the writers confirmed that when you read the letters, you can literally tell that Bill and Frank were lovers, like just fully lovers in the game. Like, that is the source material. And they expanded on it because that's what shows do, right? Like, shows expand on what's there. The same thing with House of the Dragon. It's based on a book, but like the show actually expanded on some of the things that you have to read between the lines on. But people were like, oh, I'm done with this show. I'm tired of these big companies trying to force this agenda on us. Like, what agenda? Gay people literally exist. They breathe. They exist right in your world. And
they only exist because of the agenda. If people stop, that's why they're here. Because the agenda keeps making more of them.
Gay people are here because of straight people, actually.
Get them off of my lawn.
Without straight people, there would be no gay people. Like, what do you mean?
No, I don't know. It's so interesting because the way we've been watching The Last of Us, I have like a group of people that we've been watching it the night it comes out at like midnight. And it's like 7 of us that are all on a Discord call, and we sync it up and watch together. And it's really fun. We're all muted and just like typing.
I was gonna say, like, how do you guys deal with the random talks and stuff like that? But I guess you just said.
Yeah, we just all mute. Like, I sync stuff online with a lot of people. Usually, I don't mute if it's just like 1 or 2 people, right? We just kind of hang out, and then like you say, but with like 7 people, we were like, all right, we all got to mute. Like, you all got to mute. And if you want to talk, just type. And it's been a lot of fun though. So we were watching episode 3 and all the other episodes, but we were watching episode 3, and pretty much the consensus the entire time was like, this episode was really fucking good. We're not going to talk too much about it, but the episode was really fucking good. We all just like loved it. And then like, it was so weird because by the next day, after, other people have seen it and we got to hear stuff from other people, for the most part, the consensus was like, that episode was incredible. Yes. Like, people saying like 90%. One of the best episodes of like TV. But then there's other people that are like, I'm canceling HBO because this shit is gay.
Yeah. I can't deal with people being idiots. Like, you're an idiot. And then it's the same people who call other people snowflakes that are actually the snowflakes. Like, these people are so bent out of shape about things that you really shouldn't even care about, because someone else's sexuality really doesn't have anything to do with you. Like, it just actually doesn't affect you. It doesn't do anything to you. I don't know why people care so much, but they see the need to go online and voice their opinion. So here I am telling you that you're an idiot and you can fuck off and go straight to hell. You heard it here first on the IMNerd podcast. But yeah, fantastic episode. Really amazing. And I can't wait to actually do our mid-season review, because I'm fiending to talk about The Last of Us again. It is actually off to such a good start. Like,
yeah, it's really good. Did I tell you? I don't know if I told you this, but I was at work and somebody asked me like, they're like, hey, like, what have you been watching recently? Have you watched any good movies? Have you seen any good whatever? And I was like, what am I watching right now? I don't know. And like, I know I'm about to watch like Wakanda Forever, and we're gonna do a podcast episode. If you guys don't know, actually, when we're recording this, it's February 1st, and Wakanda Forever just came out on Disney Plus.
Yep.
And so we're gonna be doing our next podcast episode on Wakanda Forever after this one.
Yep.
So that's happening, and then Eternals is happening. But anyway, I didn't watch those yet, and I was like, "What the fuck am I watching?" I was like, "Oh, I'm watching The Last of Us." I was like, "Yeah, I'm watching The Last of Us. I'm actually really liking it. It's way better than I thought it would be. It's really, really good, etc." And then he goes, "Yeah, I tried that show. It's just like The Walking Dead. I don't really care for it." I was like, "All right."
Oh, I love that you just said, "All right." I love that. I love that you spent zero time trying to convince this person
Yeah.
otherwise. I love that. This is the maturity that comes with age. Like Kenny and I are so old now because I'm telling you, if you met us earlier, we were so argumentative. Kenny and I would just argue with other people and with each other about everything. So the fact that he just literally said, "All right," instead of literally before we would question a person, and be like, "Well, where'd you draw that conclusion from? Like, what besides zombies gives you the idea that it's just like The Walking Dead?" Like, we would question them and then kind of get them to poke holes in their own logic and basically make fun of them without them realizing it. Or if they realize it, we don't care either way. It's like all the same. But we would, and then if they try to actually debate it, then we would actually continue to debate. But the fact that the new Kenny, the 2023 Kenny, just said, "All right," that's just not the man I grew up with at all.
I had no time for it. I'm just, all right.
I tend to be the same way, and unless it just gets to like some things get to a boiling point, and I just have to say something. But yeah, stuff like that, I do not care to convince people otherwise. Like I just everyone was saying before it came out, House of the Dragon, oh, it's going to be bad. You saw how Game of Thrones ended. I'm not going back and forth with y'all. This is source material from George R.R. Martin himself. Y'all saw the first 5-6 seasons. Y'all know what it is. I'm not going back and forth with nobody. It has already won Best Show on TV for the year 2022. Rings of Power can suck it. Show is not very good at all. Yeah, and that's just how I'm carrying it. Like I'm not going to argue with you guys. Like it's not that serious. I'm just going to state how I feel, and you're allowed to feel differently, and that's fine. But what I'm not going to do is like we talked about this before. I think where people say
we did
where people kind of want us to tell them why something is good. Like they want us to defend it.
We talked about this. I remember it got brought up when somebody was trying to argue with me because they were like, well, I just watched Cowboy Bebop and I think it sucks. And I was like, okay. And they're like, well, why do you think it's so good?
Nope.
And I was like, well, you're allowed to just think it's bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but I don't understand. You think it's so good. Explain to me what I'm missing. And I was like, no, watch it again. Like, I'm not.
my new thing
the fuck you want me to do?
Because we have this podcast, my new thing might be just directing them to our podcast and being like,
yeah.
You can simply listen to, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to explain something to people individually if I've already said it on this, and like there's an entire show that you can listen to that's probably 2+ hours long or close to 2 hours long of us literally talking about pros and cons, because we're not just completely biased and we just think like, oh, Cowboy Bebop is an old anime, therefore it's just goated because it's goated. Like, no, Cowboy Bebop is genuinely good to us for many different reasons. The music, the actual anthology of it all, like the things that bring the characters together, the things that make them, apart. Like there's so many things about Cowboy Bebop that I like, and I just saw it literally last year. I've never seen Cowboy Bebop before last year. So
and it's got a lot of woke gay shit in it.
It does. It actually does. But I think in general, like with the podcast being a thing that we do, and it's almost been 2 years doing this, and we have again, it's a library of content, right? So we've done so many episodes on so many different anime, so many different TV shows.
Enough that I forget some of the shit that we've done.
Literally, Kenny was like, we didn't do a Power Rangers episode yet. We fully did a Power Rangers episode, like 2 hours worth too, mind you. And Kenny was like, I don't think we did Power Rangers yet. And it's there. But that's what happens when I
was going to fuck around and record another. I was going to just...
We would have done another one, yeah. I think that we are, what is this episode? This right here that we're recording at this very moment is episode 127. And that's not including all of the episodes that are Patreon exclusive, which are becoming quite numerous now because we are almost 24 months in, right? Like it will be 24 months in July that we've been podcasting.
There's a lot of Patreon exclusive episodes.
Yes,
now.
Not to mention, I guess since we're on the topic of Patreon, if you guys don't know, I have been uploading literally daily content to Patreon. Like I have been going so hard.
And YouTube.
I've been uploading. I'm glad you said that.
And yeah.
I've been uploading daily content, making thumbnails, burning the midnight oil, making a bunch of content. Mainly, it's all Edison format stuff because I'm just so enthusiastic. Like I am fully back in like YuGiOh mode, and I feel my drive and everything. And it just makes I'm happy in the space that I'm in right now. So I've been putting out a lot of content on Patreon and then also on our YouTube channel. So check those things out if you're interested in like seeing that type of stuff. But yeah, it's been really fun. And
what I've been doing recently is other than playing Fire Emblem Engage, which I've been having a lot. Dude, I got hit with the RPG Classic last night. I'm not going to go into much detail in general, but I was playing Fire Emblem Engage on my stream, right?
Mhm.
I'm playing it. I get to a chapter, and so Fire Emblem has this. So first of all, it has permanent death for people that don't know. When your characters die, they can die forever. That's a classic Fire Emblem aspect. In the more recent games, they added this rewind feature where you get a limited number of like charges of some magical thing that a god gives you that allows you to rewind turns so that you can try to like fix those situations. But even that is still limited. But it helps ease the pain and make it a bit easier.
Right.
So I get to this map, and in this game, basically I got to a chapter and I beat the chapter, and then essentially in the story, this bitch shows up and she steals all of like my powers away, and then I have to do the next map, and she's using all of my powers,
Oh my
and
god.
she has the rewind feature. I don't have the rewind feature anymore. I can't use like the goddess crystal to like rewind the game. And then there's a part where like you kill one of her guys and he's holding like the ring that has your power in it, and you go to get it back and then the ring disappears, and then she laughs at you and she explains to you that she just used the rewind power that you've been using the whole game. And
That
it's like
is
this.
wild and way too self-aware.
I was like, this shit is not okay.
This is the newest Fire Emblem game that's doing this.
Yeah, this is the one that just came out.
I like
so,
that they're now breaking the fourth wall with like, because people, okay, back in the day, Kenny mentioned this before, but back in the day, people used to just reset their game when they lost a character that they didn't want to die because, like he said, when the character dies in Fire Emblem, they're actually dead for the rest of the story. Like that character is gone, which is so wild to me conceptually. And I never played one, so I can't really wrap my mind around like how the hell can the story continue if Yuna were to die. Well, I guess it wouldn't continue if Yuna died. But let's say if Wakka died, right? Like if Wakka died in Final Fantasy X, that is such a huge integral part of the story and his relationship with Chapu and like his brother, like, you know, Tice looks like his brother and stuff like that.
It's just dead.
It's just the whole thing. And yeah, so anyway, people used to in old Fire Emblem games, from what I understand, they would literally just turn their game off and turn it back on, you know, auto save off and say, all right, fuck it, I'm going to replay that map that way. And what were you?
Yeah, it's just funny because there's like no way. The old games especially, were so disrespectful because what they would do now, obviously you could restart the chapter, but the game would auto save after every little action that you do. The game auto saves, and then so what would happen is you would turn your game, like let's say somebody had hit you and it was like a 30% chance of hitting you. You'd be like, all right, I'm gonna turn my game off and turn it back on. That way, like maybe he misses, but like that action is set in stone. So like you'll turn it back on, and then it'll just show the guy walk up to you again, and then just hit you again. And like the RNG is set for that turn already, so like he's going to just hit you every time, and you just watch your guy die. It's really funny. But anyway, yeah, people would just restart the whole chapter.
Yeah, you'd have to. So you'd have to play the whole chapter, you can't just go back to that battle.
Yeah, well, a battle is one chapter.
Okay, every chapter is one battle. Gotcha. See, this is me not knowing how Fire Emblem fully works, but I guess we're all getting educated because I'm sure I'm not the only one. But okay, so what I was saying about this is that I like that at one point it was a thing that people did to kind of get around like, oh, I don't like that my character died, or maybe my character just didn't do what I wanted them to do, so I'm just going to restart and do this over. They then introduced something in a recent game where you can blatantly Prince of Persia Sands of Time rewind the game, right? Like there's a limited number of this thing within the game though that allows you to blatantly do what people were doing with the reset. And so the company is aware of it, but now they've taken that mechanic and made it a part of the actual gameplay and plot. Like a character has stolen your ability to do that and is using it and taunting you about it, which is kind of like breaking a fourth wall, because think about how far it's come. Like it came from at one point you couldn't do it at all without doing something outside of the game, to it being in the game as a feature, to now it being on the enemy side and breaking the fourth wall. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's insane. So that shit happened to me last night, and I was like, "This is so fucking disrespectful."
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that shit happened to me last night. So that's what I'm doing. I'm playing Fire Emblem Engage, but that was actually a side rant. The other thing I've been doing recently, for some reason, I have been absolutely fiending, to get back into like custom firmware 3DS stuff. So I just been like on this 3DS custom firmware kick. I found my old 3DS. The original day one 3DS, and it's like all old and beat up, and you know, it's a piece of shit now. So I hit up our good pal Medina, and I was like, hey, do you have any like extra 3DSs lying around? And he was like, I do have an extra 2DS XL. And I was like, I'll buy it off you. And he's like, all right. And then I literally got on the fucking train, went to his house, gave him money, got it, and then went home.
Oh my God. That's determination. You got on the train to go to his house?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
And then on the way home, because like he already had some stuff on it. So on the way home, like I'm sitting at the train station waiting for the train to come. I pop it open. I just start playing Ocarina of Time. It was
I'm
fucking
assuming that
awesome.
he had it charging for you when you got there.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because
I mean, yeah,
I don't
because
know
it was
why.
charged.
Yeah, I don't know why I would have power. I just had to, for continuity
So,
purposes. I'm like, how were
so,
you playing it?
so yeah, and then I just been on a kick again. Like I just been really wanting to mess with because my Switch, I bring my Switch like everywhere, right? And the Switch
Yeah,
is portable, but it's like portable-ish, right? It's portable where it's really easy to pick it up and take it to your friend's house or take it somewhere else.
yeah,
But it's not portable in the way where like I can put it in my pocket and if I want to real quick pull it out, do something real quick and put it away again. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's too big to like use
You know
on
what
the
you need,
bus.
Kenny?
What?
You need like a side bag. You need to become one of the cool kids. These like the people these days, including myself. I have a lot of bags now. Honestly, I used to always have a
Hmm.
backpack. I'm sure you know. I mean, you used to always have a backpack too.
I mean, I still always have a backpack.
Backpacks are great, but sometimes I carry just a sling bag, like a little. It's basically a fanny pack, but people don't wear them like fanny packs ever. And now I think they just completely rebranded them and started calling them like sling bags or like side bags and stuff like that. But a cross-body bag, essentially, that's kind of in a more narrow shape sideways. And that way it kind of like a baguette, like a hoagie roll. That way you can pop in a Switch and pop it
Yeah.
out at will, and it'd be really quick to do so. Like I can imagine, because I have one, I have a Supreme one, and the Supreme one that I have holds like anything in it, like my phone if I want to put it in there, if it's raining real bad or stuff like that, my wallet obviously, or card holder, stuff like that. But it sits on my chest or like kind of under my right arm if I pull it that way, and whenever I need it, I just kind of like can quickly like pull it over and then unzip and then grab what I want out of it. And then when something changes, like let's say I'm getting an Uber, I just drop in my phone or my Switch or whatever and put that in there and then zip it back and then tuck it. It's really
Yeah.
quick, and that's kind of what I'm selling to you, is the idea that like, yes, I know you carry a backpack. We both love our backpacks, but our backpacks are literally on our back most of the time, and you have to kind of, it's like really cumbersome. You know how it is.
Oh, and yeah. That's what I'm saying. So like, I love my Switch. I bring it fucking everywhere,
Yeah.
and I use it a lot portably. But it is frustrating. Not
It's big.
frustrating.
It's
but
a big system.
it's out of the way sometimes when like if I want to quickly like pull it
Yeah.
out and like play it real quick and put it back away.
Yeah, it
Whereas like
definitely
a
is.
DS, you can just have that in your pocket. You can just pop it out real quick, do something like it's really easy to take it in and out. So
Yeah.
anyway, I started to just kind of fiend for it again. And like there's a lot of really fun 3DS games and GBA games that I like playing anyway. And I was like, man, I want to fucking. So anyway, I got on that kick, and I'm currently trying to like get a bunch of 3DS games and GBA games and DS games and like on there, all the Pokemon games and Fire Emblems and all that shit.
Yeah, no, I'm here for it. I love playing old games, even if it's just for a little while. Like I mentioned in
You know
our
what else I'm
Pokemon
gonna try?
exclusive. Oh, go ahead.
I want to try. I'm not gonna play a lot of it, but just to try it for fun, right? Because why not? I'm gonna try 3 Ultimate Monster Hunter. Yeah,
Oh
right. Because
yeah. We did
that's
talk
on
about
the
that.
3DS. Like I'm gonna,
You're gonna go. Is it
I'll fuck
on
with it.
something else now too? I guess we could just emulate it also, right? Like it can just be
Yeah.
emulated.
Well, from what I understand, the Monster Hunter 3 or Try is like an original experience that 3 Ultimate didn't expand on. Like there's a lot of shit from what I understand. I haven't played these games.
Right.
From what I've heard, there's a lot of stuff in Try that's not in 3 Ultimate that specifically the hub world that people like really really love. Allegedly, it's one of the best hub worlds in Monster Hunter in terms of multiplayer hub worlds. And it's really good whatever. And that was like stuck on just the original Wii, because on 3 Ultimate, when it came out on the 3DS and the Wii U, it was like different and they had different shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, for years
I
now,
want to
there's
say
been
that's because if you ever seen Monster Hunter Try, the graphics on that game are actually, I'm sure it's different now if I were to look at it now, but the graphics on that game were beautiful. Like
yeah,
the way the water, and the Switch, not the Switch, but Nintendo has always had a thing with water where they don't really try to make their water look as real as possible. And so that just makes their water better overall, because I don't go in expecting Nintendo water to ever try to look like actual flowing water, because that's, for people who don't know, like rendering fire and water is one of the most difficult things to do in video games. And obviously PlayStation, like Sony and Xbox or Microsoft, I should say. Sony and Microsoft go for realism, which is fine because especially in 2023, they're accomplishing that now with fire and water and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
back in the day when the Wii was out 10 plus years ago, and just the water in Monster Hunter Tri looks so nice. Like I've never played it myself, but I've obviously, because it's a Monster Hunter game, I've seen a lot of the content that is in that game, and I
Yeah.
understand why when it went to a portable system, why they were not exactly able to translate everything in it over to a
Yeah. Yeah.
system that is just not as
That makes
powerful.
sense.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
So with all of that said, I'm gonna try 3U on the 3DS just for fun. I'm not gonna like go balls deep into it. But on Monster Hunter Tri, the community has been working for like I think over 10 years, trying to get Tri to work online through Dolphin, like how like we do with
Oh, is that what Stango was playing when it says he's playing something Dolphin?
yeah, that's the GameCube slash Wii emulator.
Okay, I always see him something bird dolphin, and I always wonder if he's playing like some weird game that he never tells us about because it all like it says that multiple times a day. I never knew that that just meant he was playing Smash ever.
Yeah, that just meant he's playing Smash. That's all.
That's
That's
so
all.
funny, bro. This whole
That's all it
time,
means.
I thought Stango was into like some weird game where there's like little dolphins and penguins, and you
Nope.
kind of just like a Candy Crush or like a
Yeah,
some kind
yeah.
of weird game like that, like a little side scroller that he just plays as a side rant. But no, it's fully just he's playing Smash.
No, he's just playing Smash. He's just playing Smash.
And now
Yeah,
that I know
Dolphin.
he's playing Smash, I realize how much he actually plays Smash, which everything makes sense now. He went to
It all
Genesis.
it all
Okay.
makes sense.
Everything makes
Yeah,
sense.
Dolphin is the emulator. It's honestly one of the best emulators ever made. Like it's for Wii and GameCube, and in terms of it compared to emulators for PS whatever, Xbox whatever, it
Yeah.
is like one of the best and most consistent emulators ever made. It's like so clean. They got online play working for games that don't have online. It's all this crazy shit. And so anyway, the Monster Hunter 3 community has been trying to get the hub back, and allegedly it's like that project is nearing its end. Like they've got a lot of stuff working. I don't think it's public yet, but they have like a behind the scenes beta build that they've shown and talked about that they're going to make public for fully functional online play for Monster Hunter Tri. And allegedly they're like adding, like I think some people are trying to add event quests. Like they're all of the quests that were originally in Tri, and some people are like, well, we're also going to just like we'll add more quests to the game, because why not?
That's pretty cool. I really like the sound of that, and maybe that's something that we can do as a little side hobby or something. I mean, I'm definitely willing to try it out. And who knows, maybe I'll play it and be really in love with it, or maybe I'll play it and be like, okay, loading screens, not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm very spoiled by Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Iceborne.
It is tough to go back to loading screens.
Once you load into a map, you're in that map forever, and until you leave that quest or do something, that's it. There are no more loading screens. The gameplay is just seamless at that point. So that is going to take some getting used to again. But outside of that, like hunting the monsters, playing with the weapons, seeing how they feel and all that stuff, it'll be interesting to go back and it'll really make me appreciate, if anything, all the quality of life improvements that have happened in the Monster Hunter series over the last, since 2018 Monster Hunter World came out. So the last 5 years, literally 5 years now. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So to go into our next segment, I want to read, we have a listener letter, and this one came in January 8th, and it was based on our 2022 recap. And it's from Austin Cruz. Well, actually, this one is titled Recap of 2021 Part 2. So this must be a continuation of another listener letter that he sent. But he said, I'm actually so glad I was an essential worker and didn't work from home. Just knowing how I am, I know I would leave my house less and never get any work done. I need to get out of the house to be productive and probably wouldn't even be close to a healthy weight if I didn't. I feel 2022 wasn't bad for those that took advantage of all the downtime in 2021. Definitely a good reset we all kind of needed. I used 2020/2021 to rebuild my Yu-Gi-Oh collection and write material. Spent 2022 getting my toes wet in stand-up and figuring out how I want to tell jokes. Didn't get to go to a lot of bigger Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, mostly because of work, but now have the staff so I can get off more. And I'm torn between buying new cards and finishing Edison decks and being broke by choosing both. Also, started watching more anime again as well. Started the Bleach anime over, similar to Kenny, since I read it and haven't seen most of it. Finally broke down, started My Hero Academia, and caught up in only a couple of weeks. If you want to see something funny and a good watch, look up Bofuri, Bofuri.
Yeah. the English name, or at the very least the subtitle, is I didn't want to get hurt, so I maxed out my defense. I think
Yeah,
that's
and the last line of this listener letter says, "This girl puts all her skill points in defense in this VR game," and that does actually sound funny. So there's a couple things to say here. So yeah, I found out, if I didn't already know, the pandemic made me realize how much of a recluse I am. I really like being home. I really like being by myself or like to myself. And if I'm going to have company, I prefer them to come to me now. Like I just really enjoy the sanctity of my own home. And 2020, when we were all locked down and really couldn't go anywhere anyway, once the country started to open up a bit, and at points in 2020 when we thought it was kind of over, and then it just wasn't, and then all the different variants came out. Then 2021 was more of lockdown and vaccines and vaccine cards and all that stuff. And we kind of just, my job just stayed work from home, going on a second year. And I started thinking to myself, I don't want to really go back. I don't want to interact with my coworkers anymore. Like, I don't want the human interaction. I don't want the fake interaction. I don't want to hear about people talking about their kids. I just don't like all of the, it's just like small talk and stuff that people do that you just kind of have to do. The greetings all the time. You have to say hello to, good morning to people all the time. Like, there's just a lot of things that are normal in society that I don't really care for, which I never really did, but it made me realize how much I didn't care for them when the pandemic happened. So I really liked being at home. But what I will say is that those years also did mess me up a bit, because I gained more weight than I ever have in my life at the beginning of the pandemic. Those first 6 months, I was the biggest I ever was in my life, and I was 164 pounds. That's the biggest I ever been. And honestly, when I look at the pictures of when I was that big, you could just see it. Like, my face, I naturally have like a pretty like chubby cheeks or whatever on my face, and my grandma and like my mom and them, they used to make fun of me, or not make fun of me, but they used to love and adore my facial stuff. Like, they used to grab my face. They literally, old women would grab my face and be like, "Oh, look at your chubby cheeks." That was just like a thing, right? So my face naturally has a bit of fat in it, but when I gained that weight, it seemed like most of that shit just went straight to my face. So my face became very bloated looking. And then obviously, like, seeing myself shirtless and stuff, and I was muffin topping, and it was a whole thing. And this is like my personal feeling about how my body image was, because I just wasn't in love with the way I looked. And I've never been, again, I always say, like, I don't think I've ever been depressed actually in my life, or like at least clinically depressed and know for a fact like I am suffering from depression. But seeing my body look like that definitely did something to me, where I just was like, I don't accept this anymore. And I just went on a diet, and I lost that weight. And I got back down to what I think my normal body weight is, anywhere between 145 to like 150. That's kind of where I go back and forth. Like, my body just naturally, every couple months, it just kind of teeters between those 5 pounds. Is kind of where I'm at. And I like the way I look at that weight. So I get what you mean when you say, like, you would probably be an unhealthy weight if you just didn't get out the house at all, because it makes you productive when you're out the house. I totally get that. And a lot of people do feel that way. And for me, it's kind of true too. Like, being in the house all the time, I wasn't going to the gym. I was Uber eating every single day. I was sitting at a computer desk, my computer desk that was in my bedroom every single day, not really exercising, not really moving. And I didn't realize that shit really does have a very quick effect on the health of your body. So totally agree with you there. As far as torn between buying new cards and finishing Edison decks, or being broke choosing both, like, I can say, as somebody who spent a lot of money on Edison, at least it has brought me a lot of joy. And I say this in every podcast episode now, but like, do the things that make you happy. So obviously not to a detriment, right? Like, don't go actually broke, of course. And I'm sure you know that. But if you can reasonably afford something, and you know that it will actually bring you happiness, and it might even be an investment, because now cards are just worth, so Ulti-Kaises are $350. So like, it might actually be an investment. I personally think, buying Yu-Gi-Oh cards is not the worst thing in the world anymore, considering what happened in 2020 when the price of collectibles in general just skyrocketed and stuff. So
there is
go ahead.
A project I want to undergo, and I'm not going to say what it is, because I want to try to do it before more people do it, because I don't want y'all raising the price of it. And so
I already like the sound of this, though.
Just know that I am going to try to collect a set of things that may or may not be related to trading cards.
Okay.
And
you don't see anybody else doing that in your site right now, like as far as things that of the media that you've
It
consumed, no one that you know is doing it, I'm guessing.
People do it, and me talking about it isn't going to really push the needle that much,
Right,
but
right, right.
still, but still,
But
right
yeah,
now it looks obtainable in a price range where I'm like, I'm okay with that. And
yeah, I'm okay with this.
in 20 years, this might be kind of fire. And so, but when I do it, I'll let y'all know. But
Okay, that's dope.
for now, fuck y'all. I ain't telling y'all shit.
And the last part about this is you started watching Bleach again. So in our Patreon exclusive episode, we talked about how we're going to do our Code Geass episode at some point in 2023. Might even make it the Q1 because I am going to start rewatching Code Geass from season 1. It's only 2 seasons if I'm not mistaken, and they're both like 26 episodes.
Yeah, I think it's roughly a 50 episode anime.
Yes. So 50
Altogether.
episodes is reasonable. It's not Hunter x Hunter level. It's not Naruto or Bleach level where it can be like hundreds of episodes or whatever. So I plan to rewatch Code Geass, and that kind of makes me excited. So I get why you watch Bleach and you read it initially. It's kind of like my journey with One Piece. I read One Piece at first, and then I kind of went back and decided, you know what? Let me start watching some of this. And I watched pretty much all of Wano up until
I'm excited
I
to
caught
watch
up.
all of Wano. I'm gonna wait when Wano's done in the anime. I'm gonna watch all of Wano.
Yeah, I didn't realize that when I started catching up in 2022 to One Piece. I didn't realize that I would actually get all the way to the newest episode and chapter. I caught up on both. Like first I watched Wano until I got to a point where I was like, oh shit, that's actually the newest episode. Holy hell. Like I'm actually caught up in the anime. And then I continued my journey in the manga. I was like, well, I can't just stop there.
Cheyenne just did that. He's been behind on One Piece for like 4 years. He hasn't been current. And he just recently like watched all of the anime that he wasn't at, and he hit like 2 weeks ago, he hit whatever the most recent episode of Wano was, and then he went and read and got manga current after that, and like just got current like I think last Sunday or Saturday in the manga.
Yeah, I mean it's my favorite arc of One Piece. I actually would not mind starting it over and watching it all again because I just enjoyed it that much. So many things about the Samurai Land is just really dope to me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the animation now. People can't really shit on One Piece anymore for having bad animation because it's literally in a conversation for some of the best animation that you could see in a modern anime. It's really, really stellar. And obviously the story has always been top notch. That's never been a problem. So to me, it's just at this rate, like it's just going to be One Piece. Like it's just One Piece is just they have everything.
It always
now.
has been.
It's
that meme. It's the meme of the astronauts. Like it always has been.
Okay, so what's this thing about Bafuri, the girl who put all her skill points in defense?
Oh, so it's an anime. I haven't seen all of it. I started it a couple years ago. It came out, and at that time, I was watching or trying to watch every episode every anime that came out that season. It's just like every now and then that's something I want to do. It's like a season of anime will start. I'm like I want to watch all of them, and just to like do it, and then like. So anyway, I watched episode 1 of every single anime that season, and then I did that for like the first 3 episodes of every anime that season, and that was one of the anime. And then some of them I kept watching, like I watched that one a little bit more and a couple other ones, but then eventually just like it's just too much to keep up with, and then I just stopped watching all of them, and then like work happens and stuff.
Yeah.
So I never finished it, but it was really cute and really fun. It's a MMO like video game anime. But it's, from the perspective in the game, right? So it looks like it's just a normal whatever.
Yeah, kind of like Sword Art. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Yeah, it's like SAO, but it's like SAO, but they're not. From what I remember, they're not like trapped in the game. They're just like logging into the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like SAO in that regard. And the main character is like this cute anime girl, and yeah, she has like really, really high defense points, and then like monsters attack her, and like she just takes no damage.
Just imagine them bouncing off her boobs because that's the kind of shit that would happen in an anime nowadays.
But yeah, she it's cool, it's cute, and it's just like fun. Yeah, she doesn't have any other stats. She just has really high defense, and it's just like it's a fun, chill watch to have on.
I started recently watching another isekai. I didn't expect to, but someone who I was dating.
Damn, you're becoming isekai trash.
I know, it's kind of crazy.
I have a friend, 2 friends. where every season they watch every isekai anime. I'm like, you could just watch the good ones, or like you could watch the good anime that comes out.
I
They're like,
will
yeah,
say this.
but they're like, but they're, they said most isekai is trash, but it feels so good when you find a good one. I'm like, all right,
Well,
well,
I'm
you do.
lucky. The only isekais I've really seen, as far as new isekais, are Mushoku Tensei, which I think is one of the better ones for sure, and this new one that just started, the anime anyway, is something about the strongest exorcist. Like something about the strongest exorcist got reincarnated, and it has one of those titles, right? Like it has one of those isekai titles. But basically, this guy in a past life was literally the strongest exorcist, so he's broken as fuck when it comes to magic and summoning things and all these minions that work for him. He's like Laharo, honestly, because in episode 1, he's reborn as a kid, of course. He's in this rich house. He's in this like castle type of house, and he has 2 brothers, and he's born technically without magic. So he's like Asta in that way, but he actually can just do insane no incantation magic, and he blows them away with like his abilities because his 2 brothers who are older than him, they're supposed to be the ones going to this magic school and all sort of stuff. So it has a lot of the tropes of isekais, and it reminds me a lot of Mushoku Tensei. And the difference is, like in Mushoku Tensei, the main character, he is a pervert, and he's really big into girls, and he's a pervert. But in this Exorcist one, the guy he basically has a harem. Like one of his summons is a girl, she's hot, and she's head over heels about him. He can't really tell though, but she, like as a viewer, and she gets jealous of the other girls that end up joining him along the way, and he's surrounded by girls that like him and stuff like that. At least the first couple episodes seem like that's where it's going, but he literally has no fucking clue, or he doesn't really care about them either. So that's kind of been my thing. I've been looking at that, and maybe I'll finish it at the end of the season. I don't want to watch it week to week. It's just not worth it. Like Kenny said, it's 20 minutes a week. I just can't do it. I think I'm just fully off of the whole, unless it's going to be Demon Slayer or Attack on Titan, which are both, well, Attack on Titan should be coming to an end, but I can't even really say that because
Part 8, Part 1.
Because it's not coming to an end. So I was going to say at least Attack on Titan's coming to an end, so watching it week to week doesn't feel as bad. But I don't know what the fuck is going on with Attack on Titan. And Demon Slayer, I heard, is a pretty short story. So
did you see the meme? You might have been the one to show me, I don't know. But it's like a horse, right? And it's like the back of the horse, it's like season 1, season 2, season 3. And then it says season 4, and the neck is like super elongated for Attack on.
Yeah,
it's like season 4, and it's a super long neck.
So bad.
It's just like, oh my god.
I mean, they are definitely milking the fuck out of this. But I heard that it was because of anime. I don't know. It's excuses, but like
to me, it's like it's not even milking. It's just bad. It's just not the final season. That's all.
It's just
not the final call season. It season 4, season 5, that's all. That's all.
Yeah,
if they would just call it season 6, nobody would care.
I literally wouldn't mind at all. It would not. I wouldn't even be thinking about this. This wouldn't be a conversation on a podcast. In fact, all we would be saying is that Attack on Titan returns in 39 days. It does.
It would be like, oh man, season 20 is coming out, right? We'd just be hype about season 20. But instead, we're like, season 4, part 20. It's like, all right.
Yeah, it's really annoying. All right. So some news came out this week that is really perplexing to me. And let us know right into IMNerdpodcast@gmail.com if you want us to read your listener letter, or just let us know if you're in our Discord server or whatever is going on. Apparently, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo won't be a part of E3 2023 this year. Now that I don't know what to think about it, because what the fuck is E3 going to be if the 3 main players are literally not presenting? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's not like I'm the biggest E3 fan lately. Like the last couple of years, E3 has been pretty much whatever. But when I was a kid, E3 used to be the best 3 days in gaming or whatever, like the best weekend in gaming. And now that the big 3 are not even going to be there, I don't really know. Am I expecting a convention of just computer games? Like, what is it going to be? I didn't research it at all. I have no idea. But this is weird.
I don't know anything about this, but I know that it all depends on how they do it. I know that the first one to do this sort of was Nintendo, right? Yep. Nintendo was the first one to be like, we're not doing a live show at E3. It's just going to be a Nintendo Direct. And, they did a Nintendo Direct, but they still did it during the E3 time slot.
Yeah.
And then Sometime after that, Sony had the same E3 for 5 years in a row. They just showed like Spider-Man and God of War 5 years in a row, and then eventually, when those games
What?
came out, look, listen, God of War
Kenny is so
2018.
shady. He's so
They showed
shady.
God of War 2018 and Spider-Man for like 5 years, and like three other games, and they were like, "These are the games that we're making,"
Yeah.
and it took like, it took them a couple years, and then all of those games came out, and then the next year they were like, "We're not doing E3." And I'm just like, "Is that all?"
Well, no shit. Both your games are out.
And
Spider-Man and God of War are both 2018, so that's kind of funny.
so that was it for Sony, and they didn't really fuck with E3 anymore. And then Xbox has been doing big E3 shows, but then anyway, COVID happened, and it really put a damper on E3 and fucked it all up. And E3's been like on and off and canceled and whatnot ever since COVID. And I think what's going to happen is, and I could be wrong, but I think what's going to happen is just like around the E3 time. I don't know what E3 is going to do, but all three companies are probably just going to do like Nintendo Directs
Yeah,
around
because
that time.
Sony has already been doing it. We actually did an episode on one, I believe, where we just called it the PlayStation Direct.
Yeah, they call it whatever they call it.
I don't even know what they call it. I forget. Like if I think long enough, but I don't care enough. But I remember we just called it the PlayStation Direct because that's what it is, or Sony Direct, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it is blatantly the same exact thing, and they just unveiled a bunch of their games. I do know what you're talking about, though. There was a period where E3 just kept showing Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I thought that it was vaporware. Vaporware, for people who don't know, is something that has been teased for a very long time. You keep seeing trailers for it or whatever, and it just never comes out. That is how we felt about Kingdom Hearts 3. That is how we felt about Final Fantasy 15/Versus 13 at one point it was called.
I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of people that died in the time between those games got announced and came out. And like for all of them, it was vaporware. Like people died saying like these games are never going to come out. Like I bought a PS3 assuming that eventually KH3 would be on it.
Ooh, you were wrong. You were so fucking wrong. Who knew that literally 12 years after Kingdom Hearts 2, you still would be waiting a couple of days to get the game? Like that is actually absurd, but that is what happened. Yeah, PS3 did not do you any justice. That system also didn't have a lot going on for people like me and you who don't really play first-person shooters that much, at least back then. Now you're a filthy Fortnite player, so I don't really know who you are anymore.
First of all, that game just released Piccolo and Gohan, all right?
Really?
Literally yesterday or the day, I think literally yesterday, Piccolo and Gohan from the new movie were added to Fortnite.
Oh, okay. When you say that, because I was thinking to myself, all right, well, I mean, Piccolo and Gohan, like I like both of those characters, but their old designs are like, like whatever. But you're telling me they're the new.
Okay. Yeah, they added that because they already have Goku, Vegeta, Beerus, and Bulma in the game.
Yeah,
they just added Gohan and Piccolo. All I'm saying is, Fortnite is out here.
I would 100% if I played Fortnite, I would have to be Beerus.
The Beerus skin is sick too.
I would have to be Beerus. I think he fits my personality too, in the sense that like, one, he's a god of destruction, right? And I'm like pretty destructive. But on top of that, he's small. Like he's not the biggest guy. He's very lanky and skinny and short.
The worst part is that Frazier would be Beerus and then he'd kill you and fucking do a Cardi B dance.
100%. There's no way I wouldn't just start doing the WAP dance. Like 100% wet ass pussy all over your screen when you die. Like if you lose to me, and I'm trash. So if you lose to me and I get to dance on your body, it's definitely giving WAP 100%. Because I'm only going to kill like one person. But yeah, that sounds so crazy out of context too. that sounds so. That sounds so.
Hey man,
that sounded so crazy out of context.
It is what it is.
Oh, I should not think of things out of context. Anyway, One Piece, apparently the live action is actually airing in 2023. So who's
we know what month?
Who's excited for? No, we don't know what month yet. But who's excited for One Piece? Yeah, hooray! Like I'm actually
not the live action. I'm gonna see it.
Not enthusiastic about this at all.
The day it comes out, unless it's like I'm working or something.
Yeah.
But the day it comes out, I'm gonna watch all 10 episodes probably that day.
Same.
And we'll be doing a podcast. Like good or bad, I'll watch all 10 episodes that day.
If we did one for Cowboy Bebop, we definitely gotta do one for One Piece. Let's be real.
Yeah, no, we're doing the One Piece live action is getting an episode. Like 100%.
Yeah.
And
because even if it's awful, right? It was still.
If it's awful, I don't. part of me almost wants it to be awful.
Yeah, I kind of
The
want it to
thing
be
is,
so
the thing is,
cringe.
it's not that I want it to be. It's I know it'll be awful, and so
Yeah.
I'm excited for it to be awful because it's going to be bad.
I don't want it to have any good parts.
It, I don't want it to have not one.
I don't want it to have any good parts. I
But
want
look,
it to be awful from start to finish.
if somehow this won't happen,
Yeah.
but if somehow we live in a world where it's like really good, like Last of Us good,
Bro, calm down. Why'd you go to the top? Why did you just go to the top of the mountain?
listen, if you're not top, you're bottom. Like I don't know what to tell
I
you.
mean,
So if somehow it's really good, that'd be really exciting. I'd have a lot of crazy things to
Yeah.
say if that's the case, but
I will
I don't
give it
think that's
up.
going to happen. I think it's going to be terrible, and I'm excited for it either way though, because even if it's bad, I'll
It'll be
do a
great
podcast
content.
on it.
It'll be
And
great.
man, oh man,
Yes.
it'll be a good time.
Yeah, no, you're funny though. My man said Last of Us good. Like, what? But okay, I didn't even think of this until you kind of put the thought in my mind. There is a chance though that it could just be fine. And that would be, I won't know how to feel about that though.
Yeah, I hope it's not. It's weird. I hope it's not just okay, because it being just okay is like the most egregious. I don't remember who said this. Some fucking guy. This is a quote from someone. I love those things where it's like Comic Sans print on like a sunset stock image background,
Me too.
and it's like some random quote, and then it says
Yep.
Abraham Lincoln. It's like
Yeah,
it's just
Oprah
fucking
Winfrey. It's like,
yeah,
life is not promised, suck his dick tonight. And then it'll say Oprah Winfrey under it. I
Yeah.
love those.
something like that. Anyway, something along the lines of like the worst thing you could be is forgettable or mediocre. It's like being really good or really bad is so much better than just like being in the middle in
Yeah,
terms of
that's
because
true.
like if you just forget it, like it doesn't mean anything. It's just vapor,
Yeah.
right? It's nothing. But if it's so bad that it's like funny and you remember it and you can talk shit on it, or it's so good but if it's just like whatever, then it's just like yeah, it's just flaccid, you know? I mean, it's just whatever.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. I agree. Things that are mediocre are just it would be the worst because then we still have to watch all 10 episodes, but it's like this is just mid. It's not
Yeah.
awful. It's not great. It's just mid. That's why I said I wanted to have no good parts, and that's because I think it's going to be bad anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if I thought it was going to be good, I would say I wanted to just be like really good. But the fact that I kind of am prepared for it to just be awful, considering that the main actor playing Luffy said that he does not actually read or watch One Piece, which is God fucking damn it. Like, there's people out there who are actors who also literally love One Piece. You can't tell me that in this world where One Piece is the most popular manga of all time.
Yeah, I mean, things are crazy now. Like, what's really crazy is because I'm an old head now, right? I think of things like, okay, for example, athletes, right? When I look at an athlete, I automatically assume they're older than me, which is just not the
Same.
case.
It's not the case anymore.
Yeah, because athletes are out of college, young 20s, whatever, right? So anyway, the point is the people that are like in the limelight now, that are popular now, that are in their 20s, they're all younger than me, grew up with anime. Anime is more accessible, etc. So you see a lot of basketball players and shit just like talking about Naruto
That's true.
or whatever.
UFC fighters, actually,
Yeah.
I saw one of them. He did a Chidori in the ring. Like
He did a Chidori. I think the same one. This is why I was bringing it up. I think it was maybe the same fighter. He does the gear second stance. Like he goes in the,
his name is
he does
Adesanya.
Luffy's. Yeah, like that shit is hype. So the point is like it's everywhere. Like anime is not a niche thing anymore. There's UFC
Even
fighters
Meg
doing
the
gear
Stallion.
second stances. Like
Meg the Stallion cosplayed as Mirko from My Hero Academia. She's the number 5 hero. She's the bunny girl. She actually in a cosplay looks sick. The cosplay looks sick. But that's who she was for Halloween.
Lil Kim?
Huh?
You said guess who she was for Halloween.
No. I said that's who she was.
Oh, I thought you said guess.
No. She was Meg the Stallion was Mirko, the hero from My Hero.
Yeah, no, that's dope as fuck. I think I saw the picture.
Yeah, she looks fucking fantastic. Just as an aside, but I agree
over and over again.
Okay.
For 45 seconds.
I agree though that anime is definitely way more mainstream now. It's cool to be into anime. Like a lot of like Uzi, a lot of the rappers even are into anime, right? Like it's not even just athletes and stuff. It's like it's everywhere. So again, this kind of just goes back to the point that you can't tell me you couldn't find an actor because the guy doesn't look like Luffy. So
No.
that didn't matter in your audition process. Like the way he it's not like you found somebody who, oh my god, this guy looks exactly like Luffy, so it has to be him, and we'll just fuck it. Even though he never watched One Piece, he looks so much like the character that we'll just force him into it. It's like, no, that didn't happen. You found a guy who looks like some rookie actor and decided that this was going to be Luffy, but like, I just feel like it's a mistake to not have someone who actually is an enthusiast, or at least, even if they're not an enthusiast, at least actually knows deeply who the character is because they read it or they watched it enough to be like, okay, I know enough about this. Like, for example, I didn't watch all of Dragon Ball Super. I watched the Tournament of Power, and that's it. I know nothing about the Goku Black stuff. I know nothing about anything that happened really after the Tournament of Power outside of like weird spoilery shit that I know from just seeing it on Facebook sometimes. But I don't actively read Dragon Ball Super, and I don't actively watch Dragon Ball Super outside of when it's hyped for the whole world. That being said, if someone said, here's a script, you are Goku, I have an idea who Goku is because I grew up watching Goku. Like, I know how Goku would say something. I know what Goku would say in a certain moment. I know how he would respond to certain things. I know his fighting stances. I know his arrogance, his flaws. I know a lot about Goku. I know the essence of who Goku is. Whereas someone who's like, oh, I'm just going to research who Luffy is before I start acting to be him, it just, I don't believe that is going to actually work.
Yeah.
We will
I don't
see.
Believe you.
This kid could pull it off, and I will have to eat my words because I'm a person who, despite the fact that I have low expectations and I'm going in this kind of already a hater, I will give it up if it's good. Like, if it's good, I'm not a person that just says, oh, I hated on this and I can't possibly change my mind on something, because that's just ridiculous. People like that are...
if it's good, it's good. Like, for example, the Mario movie that's coming out, I think looks really good, right?
I agree.
I won't know till it's out. But it's cool because for a long time, I've said, and for the most part, it's still true, even though we've gotten some diamonds in the roughs, video game and anime adaptations are always bad because for the most part, they always are.
Yeah, Last of Us is one of the first good ones.
We've gotten some diamonds in the rough.
Yeah,
and
very
like
few.
This Mario movie might be another one. And we'll see what happens. But and even so, the point is, even though I'm excited for the Mario movie, and I'm saying I'm excited for it, even though I previously said no video game movies could be good, I'm excited for it. But then if it ends up being bad, I'll have no problem saying it's bad, even though I thought it was going to be good.
Yeah.
And so vice versa, even though I think the One Piece TV show is going to be bad, if it ends up being really good, that's hype. Also, I thought of this because I know they were allegedly making a Netflix Avatar, The Last Airbender show, but I don't know if that got canceled. But apparently something did get confirmed within the last month that they are making another Avatar, The Last Airbender season following an Earth Avatar.
Oh, I can't wait.
So, and it's going to be animated, not live action. So that sounds hype. I don't know, when that's coming out, but
that is going to be sick. Speaking of rumors, so that Avatar thing is pretty much confirmed. I want to say that, I mean, we already know that the next bender that they're going to cover is going to start off as an earthbender anyway. So that part is kind of like obvious. The part that, like, we don't know exactly, when it might get pushed back or whatever, however it goes. But the other thing that I heard, and this was, I think, just as early as yesterday, Jeff Jones reposted Anya Taylor-Joy, I think is her name, the girl who plays in the Queen's Gambit. She's the main character.
I think she also is Princess Peach's voice actor for the movie.
Okay, she's in something else that I recently saw too. Oh, The Menu. She is basically the main character of The Menu. So she's been in a lot of roles. But she tweeted that Queen's Gambit 2 ? And people went crazy, of course. But then, I don't know if this part is true. So all of this is a rumor, guys, so take it with a grain of salt. But then somebody in the comment section on Jeff's post a couple hours later said that she said she was hacked, and she doesn't know why someone hacked her Twitter account and said, like, oh, Queen's Gambit 2 or whatever. Now, here's what I had to say about this. I think the Queen's Gambit is one of the closest things to perfection in TV that I've ever seen ever. It is literally one of the best shows I've ever seen in my entire life. And it is one of the closest things to perfect, beginning to end, the way it ends and everything, right? It is a whole story that they tell in however many episodes it is. And I don't feel like I need anything else from the Queen's Gambit. That
I mean, it's done. I don't really... I don't know. I mean, she was based on a real person, so like I don't really know where else it goes. Like it's
She became
I feel like
Grandmaster at the end. Like she beat
yeah, like
the Russian.
the story is what it is.
The story's done. So I was saying on Jeff's status, like, okay, so I'm torn because on one hand, I love the Queen's Gambit so much. It's in my top 10 TV shows I've ever seen. One, because, and we did an episode on this. This is actually one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. And I think it's over 2 hours long. But I relate to her so much, her going to her first tournament, how competitive she is, the fact that she's literally cried over the game that she loves, the fact that love has always been weird in her life. I relate to so many things with that character. And the story, I think, is so crazy that it's only a few episodes because when I watch it, it just seems so long.
Yeah, that was the consensus we both had. Like it feels longer than it is, which is crazy.
It feels really like the Queen's Gambit feels like it's a 3-season show, but they accomplish it so well. Just telling the story, and then she becomes Grandmaster at the end. Everything works out in the end, and I just don't really need any more from that story. It's just so perfect that it can only really get fucked up. Like I'm
only get worse.
I'm kind of scared because it's so close to perfection. Like it's flying so close to the sun already. That story is flying so close to the sun. So
yeah, there's a lot of things like that where it's like it didn't need like I don't know. There's sometimes you get something right and it doesn't need a sequel, even though you want to give it a sequel because money.
That's what it is too. It's like money, and I get it. Like if it's all the same writers and the same actress and all that stuff, sure, you can capture the magic again, right? Like you can capture it twice, but it's at the risk of ruining the legacy. So then we always have to put that fucking caveat where Game of Thrones is the best show on TV, but it had one of the worst endings of all time. So it's like I hate that every time I talk about Game of Thrones, I kind of somehow the conversation ends up going to, even with random coworkers and stuff, it always ends up going in this direction of like, oh man, but that ending.
Yeah, that ending. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And that's why Game of Thrones was so good, because when it was made, George R. had so much of it planned in his head that he thought about, and as he wrote, when you make a season 2 to something, in my opinion, you got to kind of know you're going to make a season 2 before you make season 1. Like when you're writing a story, you can't, because what happens is somebody writes a really good story and it comes to a conclusion, and then it becomes really successful, and they go, well, now we got to make a season 2 because it was successful. But the story that you wrote wasn't written for a season 2, 3, etc.
It wasn't written with that in mind.
So now it feels so like Squid Game. So we talked this in the Squid Game episode. I think Squid Game as a show, really enjoyable. I liked it.
Same.
And then the teaser at the end to kind of tease a season 2 felt like, but
an
why?
Afterthought. Yeah, it really did feel like an afterthought. Like it's almost like they filmed everything up to a certain point, and then the part where he dyes his hair and goes to the airport and turns around was like an afterthought. It was actually an added scene at the end of everything, right? Like he wins the money, he's able to support his kid and all this other stuff, and he's about to go see his kid. And instead they said, let's reshoot this months later because we want to do a season 2 because this is blowing up. And they added that to the end of it. And that's kind of what it feels like an actual afterthought, not like something that was originally planned. And that's our problem with it. This has also happened with the not the Queen's Gambit. This also happened with The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale season 1 is perfectly based on the first book. Well, the only book actually. And now it's on like season 4 or 5. When I tell you that show got so fucking bad, it got so outrageously bad. Okay.
That's so funny.
There was a point where me and Medina used to watch it. So season 1 was amazing. Like I said, it was based on a book. And it ended the same way where at the end of it, she's about to get into like the back of a van or something like that. And it kind of just ends on this cliffhanger. That's how the book ends as well. And then, of course, money and ratings and stuff like that. They were like, okay, well, we got to continue this story. And you can just tell what Kenny said is so true. You could just tell season 2 and season 3 are literally made up bullshit. They're so ridiculous. When we got to the end of season 2, I think it was the end of season 2. When we got to the end of season 2, I literally said to him, I am not watching any more of this. I'm good. Like, I am good on this. And he agreed. And I think when season 3 came out, we both watched the first 2 episodes just to see what it was going to be about. And we never went back.
Yeah.
We never, ever went back. We watched the first 2 episodes of season 3 and we realized this is one of the worst shows. There are some scenes, like continuity gets fucked up, which is one of the things that I hate the most. it's stuff you can just tell when people don't care. It's the
Yeah.
Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones, right? It's you don't even care about the quality anymore. There were
Yep.
certain continuity issues that were happening in The Handmaid's Tale season 2 that we just started laughing at. Like we would rewind
How
and
did
laugh
this
like
even happen?
yeah, like look at this. Look at this
Yeah.
nonsense. It got that bad and I can't take it seriously because I know that you rushed one this came out a year or two after the first series. So you didn't take that much time to develop the material, right? Like, because you have to
Mm,
shoot it too. And shooting it takes months. So you didn't take that
yeah.
much time to actually write a cohesive story to follow the original book. It was just bad. And it left a bad taste in my mouth. And every time I think about The Handmaid's Tale, every time somebody brings it up, the only thing I can think about is, God, the way that show started to go, the just
It's
nosedive
so frustrating because if it just stayed as season one, you wouldn't have to have those thoughts.
at
You
all.
could just think about how great it is. But
It's so
instead,
good.
it has 17 seasons, and you're like, why does it have this many seasons? It's funny, during our little intermission, uh, um, I found out there's this show that I've never seen it, but I it was brought to my attention. There's this show called Teen Wolf, right? And
Yeah,
apparently
I've heard of it.
and apparently it's like getting a movie, right? And like I don't know, they some drama happened with it. But the point that I'm bringing up that's relevant to the point you're making is that apparently it started off as an okay show and then one of the seasons was like actually really good and then it just tanked and it was the worst show ever made. And I made a guess cuz I was like is like are all the characters wolves or just like one guy? And it's like the main boy's a wolf. And I was like, and the person he falls in love with, she's like a girl from like a family of wolf hunters, I guess, right? And it's like, yep. It's like, how'd I know? Like,
Oh
how'd I
my
know?
God.
Like, how'd I know?
I've never seen Teen
but
Wolf myself,
but it's
but
just funny because I thought of that because you mentioned that, and it's like that stuff happens where like sometimes the show can start off okay, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, how'd this get so like this shit's insane?
yeah.
And then it just like will tank again. And you're like, oh well, all right.
I
It
think
was fun while it
I
lasted.
think Vampire Diaries has some of that. Vampire Diaries is a show that I really loved the first several seasons. It's like one of the best shows ever. And there are moments in the Vampire Diaries. First of all, that show's made me cry. There are some really sad things that happen. There are some really intense moments. Like that show's really good at building tension where you're literally holding your breath without realizing it. You're just not breathing. And it's really good while it's good. But when I tell you that I didn't even finish the Vampire Diaries because I guess the second to the last season is where I probably stopped. It got so bad. It just got so outrageously bad that I had to question how did we get here? Like
Mm-hmm.
how did the story get to this point where this is what's happening and you guys thought that this was okay? How did this get greenlit? I feel like it's going too long, and that's what happens as well. Certain things just go too long. People tell me about Supernatural and how great it is, and then but they say there's a rough patch though in about the 14th or 15th season. You can skip those two seasons and just watch just go to 16 and it should be fine. It should be just go to 16
Bro,
and
let
you
me
should
tell you
be fine.
something though.
Go from
If I
14 to
watch
16.
if I watch 13 seasons of a show, I'm watching season 14. Like I'm not gonna watch 13 seasons
Bro,
and then skip a season.
do
Like
you know
that's
how wild
crazy.
I was looking at Silverman when he was like, just skip, like you could just skip. Nothing good happens this season. You could just skip this season and just go straight to 16 and then continue from 6. I was like, are you joking or are you being serious? Why the fuck would I watch that much of it and then start skipping it at the end? Like that doesn't make any sense. He told me to do
Oh
the same thing with
man.
Titans. That show called Titans, I believe. He said that season
Yeah, skip
3.
season 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, okay. I remember I brought this up on the
Yeah, you
podcast.
told me.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
told me to skip seasons 1 and 2. I was like, hold on a minute. Hold on. Wait one goddamn minute. How you gonna tell somebody you gotta watch this show? It's insane, but skip seasons 1 and 2. You so fucking nuts. You so fucking nuts.
Oh my god. That is some of the most absurd shit I've ever. But dude, people say
Silverman's
you know
unhinged. I can't wait
the
to have him
thing
on
is
the
though,
podcast.
people will say like, dude, you gotta watch Naruto. Just skip to Shippuden. It's like, excuse me?
Yeah, like what are you talking about? That's such an unhinged thing to say. So, and the bad part is he's not the only one who has said things like that to me, like just skip this entire, and they're not talking about filler. They're talking about
Yeah.
absolute source material. like, oh yeah, this was good, but just don't watch this at all.
You
And
know what the other problem with
I
that
can't
is
do
too,
that.
though, is like people will say that, right? And then like you'll watch a show and somebody will be like, just skip season 5, and you'll be like, all right, whatever. And then if for whatever reason you watch the show one day, like and you watch 4 seasons of it, you're not going to skip season 5
There's no
because why
way.
the hell would you?
There's no way.
But then you watch season 5 and you're like, this actually isn't that bad. What? And like, it's just
Yeah, you
funny
make up
because
your own mind at the end of the day.
yeah, you make up your own mind, but you realize sometimes like this is what happens. We've talked about this before. Sometimes the culture of the internet gets in, and like
Yeah.
something happens on the internet, and the internet decided that season 5 was bad, and then you get swept up in that because you're in that like mode at that moment.
That
You're watching it with everybody else, and you get swept up in that. Oh, this one does suck. But then if you watch it on your own, you're like, no, it's fine. It's
One
not.
Punch Man season 2 is a victim of that. I will defend One Punch Man season 2 hard as hell. I really don't appreciate the way the internet tried to basically review bomb it because of the animation and stuff, and just say that the season 2 is just not very good. When season 2 introduced Garo, who is probably the most complex character that we have so far,
Oh,
and
for sure.
and I just don't get. I mean, we spent a good portion of our One Punch Man episode, which was relatively recent. We spent a good portion just talking about Garo and how he defended that kid, and he's a villain, and the reason why he's a villain because he got bullied by people who said they were the heroes, and everything around his character. I thought that season 2 was insane, and don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that season 1's animation wasn't superior and that season 1 wasn't a good season. But I personally, like from a storyline perspective, from a plot perspective, I thought season 2 was just superior. Like it just simply was. It wasn't superior as far as animation goes, but I can deal with the animation not being Demon Slayer level if the story's going to actually get somewhere and develop and give me a character. Like the same reason why I think Stranger Things season 4 is brilliant, because Vecna is an actual villain with a backstory who has real motivations. It's not just literally Saitama going around, which is what season 1 was. Saitama literally going around punching everything one time and basically beating it, except the Boros dude at the end or whatever. Like that, those things are cool, right? Like all of that is cool, and the animation is dope and stuff like that. But it is nice to get some good plot, and people just like shadow on One Punch Man season 2, basically just constantly talking about the animation. And when I watched it, I went into it thinking, all right, I didn't, first of all, the thing that really pissed me off is that I didn't watch it at first for so long because of all the bad reviews. Like I actually didn't watch it. It put such a bad taste in my mouth that it made me not even want to go into it. And then when I finally watched it, the first episode, when Garo beats the ass of like those tank top people, and he said, I hate using this style, and he switched into that Fang style, that water style, I immediately was like, this shit is fire. No pun intended. Like this is, I don't know what people were talking about. And then the rest of the season was so funny. It was like Tom impersonating that guy and putting on that wig and all that and having to keep it on the whole tournament. And I just thought everything about One Punch Man that I liked in season 1 really just translated into season 2. Like it was funny. The fights were good. The choreography was good. And then it introduced a cool character and it had good plot and all of this stuff. And so, yeah, the whole groupthink thing can really fuck with you. And I just,
the internet can get you, man. The internet groupthink can really, really get you. It's interesting because there's actually something happening right now where the Game of Thrones fans are being accused of this. So I've seen recently, there's been like this influx of this opinion where there's either people that are just freshly going through Game of Thrones and seeing the last season, and they're like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. The last season was fine. Or B, people saying like, I just rewatched all of Game of Thrones, and you know what? It actually wasn't that bad. And I don't really know where the fuck these people are coming from, because I've also rewatched this stuff, and it's still bad. And I think what people are forgetting is that like, I think this is important to understand. When you watch season 8, 7, and 8 of Game of Thrones, it is still. I mean, I guess Stranger Things might have beat it by now, maybe Last of Us, but season 7 and 8 is still like the highest, most produced show ever made at that time. It is like it is still one of the best shows on television if we talk about the bar of television.
Yes.
But it's so much higher above fucking General Hospital, right? But it's way above General Hospital. Like I agree. But it's still so much further below what Game of Thrones was. And I think people are forgetting. When you rewatch it, you go, oh, this is actually kind of fine. Because it looks good. And like the stuff that you're watching is kind of cool. And there's like quips and stuff. But when you put it in the context of the story and you go, wait a minute, what's happening? You gotta like, oh, this is what makes it horrible is how fucking good the writing was. Like,
Yes. And
it's
can
like,
I say something too? And you usually say this, and this is actually where I thought you were going with this. So I'm going to say it now. The way you watch something actually changes your perspective on it a lot.
yeah,
And this happened to
it
me.
does.
This happened to me with Wano, with One Piece. And just to kind of recap on what I mean, I binge watched, or I should say, I binge read all of Wano, right? Like, I hadn't read One Piece in actually years. So when I finally caught up, I was starting from the beginning of the Wano arc, and I read the entire Wano arc basically. And that for me made it very enjoyable. Like, I enjoy Wano a lot, but apparently there are sentiments online. And it's not a lot, but there are definitely people on the Reddits that I go through that are saying like, "Oh, this arc is dragging, blah blah blah,"
Yeah,
stuff like that, which I didn't feel at all. But you know why I didn't feel it? Because I wasn't reading it week to week, and that's no
yeah,
fault of the
yeah,
people who actually are loyalists and they read One Piece week to week. I personally can't do it. Every time I try, I end up stopping, and that's what every manga that I read pretty much. I just can't read any manga every single week. I like
yeah. No, you can't do it. I tend to do them monthly. Like One Piece, like every month I'll check in on
That's
it
a
and
good
read 3 or
idea.
4 chapters.
Yeah, and I tend to wait a little longer than that, and sometimes it gets out of hand, and I don't even realize it. But One Piece I hadn't read
Yeah,
in years because I realized when I was hundreds of chapters behind, which is literally years of content. You only get like 40 something chapters a year, right? There's 52 weeks. You only get 40 something chapters.
yeah,
So anyway, I read all of Wano in basically one sitting. Like over the course of a month, I read all of Wano, and it was some of the best manga I've ever read in my entire life. Like, I still talk about it now. If you want to hear our take on Wano, we did an entire arc called Joy Boy, an entire episode called Joy Boy. Listen to that, and listen to that episode. Very good content, but like, it's the way I ingested it that has shaped my perspective. And I
yep,
don't get mad at people who read it week to week. Like, I read Dressrosa week to week, and I think Dressrosa dragged. Dressrosa is
yeah,
one
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
weakest arcs to me, but sometimes I'll see little posts about name your best 3 One Piece arcs, and some people put Dressrosa in it, and I always think that's wild. Right, like Marineford's always pretty much in there, and then some of the, like Skypiea might be in some people's, like it's one of my favorites personally, but then I know that also wasn't received well. But it really does come down to the way you ingest it. So to get to the point, Game of Thrones, the people who are the Game of Thrones originals, we watched it from basically either season 1 or season 2, and even if I came in season 2, so when I came in, season 2 had just concluded, so I started from episode 1, season 1, and I watched
Yeah.
basically 20 episodes in like 2 weeks or something. I watched 20 episodes when I first started way back in the day, and then I watched it week to week for the rest of my life until it
Yep.
ended. And
So
so
it
I
ended.
got to,
The
yep.
way I came in was it was the weekend before season 2 episode 1 came out. Well, first I saw season 1 episode 1 the day it came out because Ant was telling me about it. Like a year before Game of Thrones came out, Ant was telling me about the show that was coming out.
Yep.
I saw season 1 episode 1 the day it came out, and then I didn't watch it just cuz like life, I didn't have HBO, etc. And then the weekend season 2 episode 1 was going to come out, I was at Ant's house and we binged all of season 1 and then watched season 2 episode 1 together, and then from there I watched it week to week for the rest of my life until it ended like Frasier.
Yes. So the way you digest it is very different because one of our patrons, actually, and friend of the podcast and guest on the podcast, Hydro Pump, he recently went through and watched all of Game of Thrones. He'd never seen a single episode, I guess, and he watched the entire thing. And he got to the end, and he said one of the things that Kenny kind of started this entire discussion with. He said, I just finished Game of Thrones. I didn't think it was as bad as everyone made it out to be. So like, he went in expecting the ending to be absolutely awful, right? And then because he watched literally all of Game of Thrones, 8 seasons, in probably a month or 2 at most, there was no real break in between episodes at all, and no real break in between seasons, which I actually think you don't really get Game of Thrones when you watch it that way. And I say this for some specific reasons. For example, one of the most jarring ones, because my friend Gary literally just did this in 2021. He just watched all of Game of Thrones. And we got the end of season 5. The end of season 5, spoiler alert, end of season 5, Jon Snow gets killed. Jon Snow gets resurrected the very next season, episode 2. So season 6, episode 2, Jon Snow gets resurrected by Melisandre. And why it's important that there was an actual over a year break between when Jon Snow gets stabbed and the last thing you see is him dying in the snow. That's the last scene of season 5. That's
Yeah.
important that there was over a year wait before it came back and he's resurrected in episode 2, because when you watch it, when you binge it like Hydra did, and again, this is no attack on these people who like binged it and all that stuff, but I just want to say that your Game of Thrones experience is not the Game of Thrones experience that, one, the way it was intended, and two, not the same one that everyone else had who just watched it.
It has a different weight to it. The weight as in heavy, not weight as in time that you wait. Because during that year before the next season comes out, you're thinking about it. People are talking about it. Is he really dead?
There were
Do you guys think he's going to come back? Yeah, all of that
theories.
shit. And then
you get none of that. You get none of it. You get none of the discussion around Jon Snow actually being dead, right? None of the Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised. You literally went, Jon Snow's dead. You watch another episode that night. Then you watch one more episode and he's alive.
Yeah. And then on top of that, there's also a thing where like the way everything sits with you different and your understanding of things are different. Because, so for example, when you watch season 1 to season 8, you're going to watch season 1 to season 8, and then you're going to ingest as much as you can. But like, no fault to any human, you're going to miss some stuff because we all did. Whereas like some people, like I know I did this, I know Fraser did this. You watch all of season 1, and then before season 2 comes back, you rewatch all of season 1. And then you watch all of season 2. And then before season 3 comes back, you rewatch all of season 1 and 2.
Yep.
By the time you get to season 5, you've rewatched season 1 5 times, and then 2 4 times, and then 3,
and so forth,
you know, and then and so you've rewatched all, and then every time you rewatch it, you find out and learn something new about the show and all these nuances that connect and intersect. So then when you finally get all the way to season 7 and 8, and all of these things that you've rewatched multiple times and been able to like put together, and you see like, oh my God, they put all these lines here. When you see that those lines just fray off and go nowhere, you're like, wow, that's really fucking disappointing. Whereas if you just watch it 1 to 8, you just see what they showed you and you don't get a chance to realize all of the lines they dropped.
Yeah, and there's no way, right, that anyone reading or watching something with that much content, right? Every season is over 10 hours. Actually, that's a fact. Every season of Game of Thrones is over 10 hours because there are multiple episodes in every season that are literally over an hour long. So like, and there's 10 episodes per season, and none of them are less than an hour really. So I say all that to say, like, you're watching so much content. Your brain, like, we're humans, our brains just can't like actually digest all of it. Like, you see Littlefinger, you might see Littlefinger being himself and like doing all kinds of chaotic things, right, in 1 week because you binge watched the first 4 seasons, and then if you binge watch the next 4 seasons in the next 2 weeks, Littlefinger's dead. But Littlefinger is a huge part of Game of Thrones, and he's around for a very long time. And when I think about Game of Thrones, I think about him basically being there to the very end. But somebody who binged it, he's kind of like, well, yeah, he dies, and he could die really fast depending on your speed of watching it, right? Like, his death, like Tywin seems like he's in Game of Thrones for a very long time to me, but Tywin dies in season 4.
Yeah. And he doesn't come in until season 2, really.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't really come in until season 2, to be honest. So there's a lot about the way you ingest things and your perception of them, whether they're good or bad or whatever. And that's kind of, we went off on a whole tangent on it, but I think it's important. Big ass tangent. I think it is important to kind of bring that up because that does really affect your perception.
It does. The way it's ingested, I personally, in my opinion, the way I prefer to ingest media and the way that is the most enjoyable to me is to binge it. However, there's a caveat there. I binge it like where, for example, I like to binge like a season of something, right? So for like One Piece, you could go a whole arc not reading One Piece and then binge that arc. And now you have time to sit and ingest that arc, read back, look at it again, etc. And then you wait for the next arc. You know what I mean? Like or like Attack on Titan, like I didn't watch it week to week, but I binged that whole season. I'm able to talk about it. And then I get to wait for the next season and have all this time that the last season simmer with me. And then when the next season comes out, it's just like a different feeling than if you just simply watch season 1 to season 48 part 4.
Yeah, I think Attack on Titan is another good example because the stuff that we realized about Eren recently from recent seasons, it's kind of crazy if I were to watch all of the show in one weekend, right? Like I could catch up on Attack on Titan. You could watch all of Attack on Titan in one weekend.
Yeah.
And it would be crazy to see Eren go from what he is in episode 1, season 1, to what he is in the following season, part 8. Like it would just be a lot, I think, to see the character development. I don't think you would really be able to get it. And
It'd be a lot.
Not insulting anyone's intelligence or their ability to grasp things, but I just feel like it's not meant for you to ingest it that fast either. Like that many seasons, five seasons, 6 seasons of Eren and how he's developed over the course of each of them and stuff. Like I don't think it's meant for you. In fact, even the manga was a monthly manga. Like, Attack on Titan didn't come out every week. It was a monthly manga. So it was never intended for you to even get all of Eren's character in a weekend. And yeah, that anyway, I think we kind of
covered that rant.
But we accomplished what we wanted to. Okay, before we wrap this episode up, there's something else that's going on that I kind of just want to briefly touch on because I feel like people would get mad at us if we didn't, us being the IMNerd podcast. But the DCU, I guess, James Gunn and the DCU, they revealed their plan for the next.
All right, have a good night, everyone. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I'm gonna be honest though. So while Kenny's joking, it's only half of a joke because I'm gonna be honest. The DCU, when I tell you of top 10 things that are not interesting to me right now, I'm just not really interested in anything that the DC universe has to offer me. And that's because of DC. It's not because I don't like Superman. It's not because I don't like The Flash. It's not because I don't like Wonder Woman. I like all of those characters, and they actually have a deck building game that I play relatively often and enjoy a lot. So I like all the characters in the DCU. I just, well, in DC, not in the DCU. I just don't care about the DCU specifically because it's been mishandled so awful.
Yeah, it's not been good. And look, if it ends up being good, if DCU Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, like if that's good, I don't even know what the fuck that is.
I don't know what that is.
If that ends up being good, if Superman Legacy is good, if these things end up being good, that's cool, but it's also interesting because they're calling this Chapter 1. So is this another DC reboot? Are we going to get another? Because this looks like another reboot. So this is interesting to me because I didn't know this is what was happening. I understand that Henry Cavill, the person that played Superman, he thought he was going to be playing Superman in the next Superman movie and then found out that he wasn't. And it was like a big thing because he's not playing Superman in the next Superman movie. And I guess this is why, because it's a reboot. And so I'm assuming The Brave and the Bold is going to be another Batman, another retelling of the fucking first Batman arc.
Yeah.
That we've had 37 times. So anyway, if this ends up being good, that's really cool. I do not have high hopes.
If it's good.
But I'll check it out.
I just can't bring myself to care about DC. And this is also slated for 2025. And it's currently the beginning of 2023. So
yeah.
I also don't really care because it's 2 years from now, and I don't even know.
Is 2025 when it's supposed to like end, or that's when it started?
It says 10 movies and shows beginning 2025. That's what it says.
So Gods and Monsters isn't coming out till 2020. I don't give a fuck. Like the IMNerd podcast is going to be 37 years old when that shit.
That's
comes
what I'm
out.
saying. So when I saw this and like the internet, the internet it, I just can't bring myself to care that much about any of this. Like I'll read off the title. So you got DC Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, then you got Superman Legacy, which is a movie, The Brave and the Bold, a movie, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, a movie, The Authority, don't know what that is, a movie, Swamp Thing, I only know that because of the DC deck building game, that's also a movie. And then you have 5 TV shows. So you got Creature Commandos, an animated TV show, Waller, Lanterns, Booster Gold, and Paradise Lost. I know Booster Gold from DC deck building, and I know obviously the Lanterns because they're actually popular, but Waller, I guess
that's Amanda Waller.
Yeah, I actually know that one also from DC deck building. But Paradise Lost, no clue what that is. Creature Commandos, I don't know what that is either. I don't know what the Authorities is. I don't really know how Swamp Thing's going to have its own movie. That just seems interesting.
There's 10 things on that list, right?
10, yep.
That means that if it's starting in 2025, right? And that's Chapter 1. That end, right? The end of that list is until like 2030, right? Yes. Like if the first one comes out in 2025,
yeah, because
like that list doesn't end until fucking 2030. Like that's not all coming out in 2025.
No, it's not.
And like James Gunn has white hair already. Like he's gonna die. Like
yeah, I just
before Chapter 3 happens, he's dead.
I just don't care. And I just do not care enough about this. I can't bring myself to lie and act like I care about this. I'm just not enthused. They have to actually make me care, right? That's the position that DC has put, I think, everyone in. Or I guess the position that we've put them in is that you have to make us care. Like I
had to put them in shit. Don't put this on me. Yeah. Don't offload their blame. They did this.
Yeah, it's just not it. I just can't bring myself to care about this.
I'll watch it when it comes out, but I'll watch Gods and Monsters.
I was about to say, I'll watch the beginning of it and see what it's giving, but if it looks like it's not good, for example, low key, high key, I'm sure you guys noticed because you're our loyal listeners, but we haven't really done some of the Marvel content as far as the shows goes in a while, right? Like we didn't do Moon Knight, we didn't do the one with Meg Thee Stallion at the She-Hulk, we didn't do that one. And we probably will at some point, but
at some point we'll do it.
But there's a reason why we haven't. It's because, in all honesty, like if Kenny and I are being honest, especially with as much time that we don't have nowadays, I could just better use my time ingesting other media that I'd rather talk about rather than watching like pretty mid shows because they've been pretty mid overall.
Yeah,
like most of them are just mid, and I'm watching them just to talk about them on a podcast. But like, I feel like that's almost a little disingenuous because I'm not actually interested. Like we said we were going to do one on the Falcon and Winter Soldier one, right? And we never did. And that's not.
Wait, we didn't?
No, we never did an episode on that one.
That's fucking hilarious. I thought we did.
There's a reason for it because like I have major resentment for. I didn't really enjoy it. And
yeah. We've talked about it a couple times.
We did. We bring it up all the time, but like I didn't enjoy it. It was just kind of mid to me, just like the other ones. Like a lot of the other ones, like sure, we like WandaVision a bit, and we like Loki, but so many other ones, like the Hawkeye one and stuff like that. Like some of them are just like, oh my god. So I don't really want to keep watching all of these Marvel shows, and now we're going to have DC shows on top of that too. It's like,
yeah.
There's just a lot of that kind of content.
They got to be good. They got to be
just have to be good, and they just haven't really been. And I'm hoping that DC will change that, but I also don't have high hopes. Is the thing. So.
I don't have any hopes.
Yep.
Zero hopes.
So, all right. Well, let me give a shout out to the people over on our Patreon account. As I said earlier, we've been putting out a lot of content, almost fucking daily content, actually. It has been daily this week. But yeah, we've been putting out a lot of content, ramping it up on Patreon and on YouTube. So check out both of those. Please subscribe to both if you can. That would be a great service to us. We really appreciate that. Anyways, for the people on our Patreon, we have Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garen, Xavier, Hylian, Dimitri Barnes, Alexander Brissett, Vinny Casello, Giovanni Avalos, Alex Flamer, Henri Reynolds, CJ, Dubk Dad 1, Dan Varable, First to Home, Dallas Ferneris, S. Akuma, Mitchell Niles, Midwest Gaming, William Shapiro, Demetrius Sapirides, Vince Marquette, Dallas Bailey, Roz Weiss, Nick Stengo, Hansel, our two-time national champion, Vincent Zinn, Sarah Maria, Sunny Top Cup Podcast, Alex Ahern, Philip Campa, Jalen Haskins, Arali Melfi Slump, Chris Lynn, Jeff Lewang, Blake Jeffrey Smith, Connor LK, MSW 2389, Edison Club, Kyle Batelho, Brandon Moore, Sugal, Nick, Andy, and Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Eric. Thank you, Eric. You know what? Because I know. So the funny part is, I met Eric through DB. I was dueling by myself one day on DB under one of my fake accounts, and we played a frog mirror match, and it was really good. And his name in the Discord, on Discord, is Mr. Sultai. And I've been like basically talking to him because we had a really good match and we started discussing. I said, hey, I'm learning this deck. And it seems like, he was giving me advice and stuff like that. I ended up winning the match, but I could tell that he knew what he was doing a bit more than I did because I just picked it up basically, the new Frog Monarch deck, because it's very different than what it used to be. He was playing some interesting cards, like he was playing Marais Agreed, he was playing Instant Fusion, and he had all these cool tech cards, and they actually worked out pretty well. Like it went to game 3 and everything, and it did go down to the wire too. But I ended up pulling it out, and we talked for like a half hour after, and he was like, I forget, he said, if you ever want to duel again, like hit me up here or whatever like that. And I think I either gave him my Discord or my YouTube or something like that. And he was like, wait, like, I think he literally typed, wait, ... wait, ... like, wait. He's like, and I was like, LOL, what's wrong? He was like, you're fucking Fraser Smith. And I was like, yeah. And then we had it was this whole moment. And he was like, yo, I fucking love you. And it just was a whole thing. It was very wholesome.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Shouts out to Eric. I don't know what your last name is because Fraser can't pronounce it.
Charles, okay, I'm gonna try though. Let me.
Maybe he doesn't want his government out there.
That's true, actually. That is true.
Maybe he doesn't want his government out there.
I'll just call you Eric for now, and you tell me if you listen to this episode and you get to this point. You tell me what you want to be called on the Patreon shout outs, but right now I'll just call you Eric. Anyways, shout out to you.
Shout out.
I really enjoy like how detail oriented you are, and you sending me all of those really, really long messages. And even he sent me deck lists and everything, and like the reason why he chose certain cards, how to side deck with the deck, and all types of stuff. So it's been real. It has been real. But yeah, he's our newest patron. And shout out to everybody who's joined the IMNerd podcast.
Thank you very much.
Patreon, we are up to 46 people. It actually might be more than that, but like since it's at the time where they start charging a lot of the people from the first of the month and all that, if your card gets declined and stuff like that, then they like take you off for a second until it goes through. So there's that whole payment processing part that we're going through right now. Anyways, as I always say, guys, do the things that make you happy, including ranting with one of your coolest friends. Also, wish Kenny a happy birthday. This man just turned a fresh 25. So yeah, that's what it's given. That's what it's given. All right, well, we will catch you in the next one. Peace out.
Thank you very much. Good night, good day, good week.